And we are live. It is our impromptu 2,500 subs AMA live stream. Not sure if anybody's going to join in. It was a bit last minute, but I wanted to put this together because if you've been following our channel at all year, I set a goal to hit 2,500 subscribers just for a goal. They always say it's good to have goals, right? So I decided to have this goal. And sure enough, we hit it actually on November 1st. I wanted to make sure the number stayed because if you're familiar at all with YouTube, sub numbers can vary from day to day sometimes, either robot accounts or whatnot that did subscribe to your account, drop off or whatnot. So I just kind of I wanted to make sure, I wanted to make sure that it was going to actually happen, and it did. And yeah, I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the new subscribers that we have joining, those who have been with me since the beginning, which a number of you are out there. 17 years ago, starting YouTube on a whim. And that's the thing. I'm sure many people are like 17 years and only 2,500 subscribers, but I've never been one that's done the trend thing. I've never been the one that has hopped on the latest thing, and done that. And or as I always say, I've never quite played the game right. I've done my own thing because that is the thing that I've really enjoyed. I've just enjoyed creating content, but what's really cool is the experiences and the people I've gotten to meet because of it. And I'm always surprised by getting subscribers because there's so many people, so many things out there, and especially when it comes to movies, right? I mean, everybody has an opinion about movies. So the fact that anyone even took the time to watch one of my videos, much less subscribe to our channel, means a lot, especially now when with just the wide vast scope of wonderfully talented folks out there onto YouTube. So thank you. Thank you. And I thank you. And Vert thanks you. I call him Vert. Just pardon my shill is showing, but last year at the Twisted Dreams Film Fest in Milwaukee, which is an awesome film fest. You should check it out. Check them, look them up at Twisted Dreams Film Fest. Just Google them; they'll show up. They gave me this award for the backbone of horror, and I love this thing because it was out of the blue, not expected. I didn't get into this thinking anything would come of it. Really, I just like creating content. You know, I wanted to apply my major some way, shape, or form in my passion because let's face it, I'm in a job that it's my day job doesn't exactly call for a video production all the time. Sometimes it might, but working in IT support, yeah. So getting to be able to express my passion, share my passion with others who have that passion with me has always meant a lot. And 2,500 of you seem to share that passion, or at least enough to subscribe to the channel. And yeah, I finally have more subscribers than I have videos on YouTube. Uh, Seriously, I've got like 2,400 videos on YouTube. I didn't even realize that. I saw the number the other day. I forgot the exact number, but yeah, it's one of those things where I never look back usually. And if you followed this at all, and I apologize for repeating, but if you've ever followed us at all, you know that that's just the way it is. It's the way I am. I'm always looking forward, and I'm always looking at the stuff that I haven't done yet that I need to get done. Which there's plenty of it out there. I know. So a lot of content coming for November. But yeah. So this is just this is a goal. that I set, and I was happy to hit it. Didn't think I was going to. It stayed there for a while. It stayed at like 24.99, and I thought, you know, fate was just kind of playing with me. You know, it was like, ha ha ha. You know, you're never gonna get there, but we did. And yeah, so with that, I'm just playing it loose here. I figured, why not uh, just set the way back machine and look at the channel. And here's my most recent stuff. Mm. Drink responsibly, brandy old fashioned can, tasty. Anyway, here's my most recent stuff, which I took October. I kind of took October off a little bit. I was doing the Spoiler Room podcast, but I didn't do a huge amount of reviews. I was doing the 31 Days of Horror, and I just took a little time for me and real life. You know, you got to do that every so often. But don't worry, November, I've got a lot of great things planned. But let's flip this to the oldest. There's the oldest videos posted onto YouTube. There it is, 17 years ago, folks. Princes of the Universe was posted. This recorded, if you anyone kept my previous AMAs, yes, this was recorded on SVHS with my original trilogy VHS on a deck in student television in UWSP. I had access to the student television studios there, and being a comm major, and so I did that. So I made that one, and then I made the Futures So Bright, Back to the Future music video, and then posted. And for the longest time, this was the only place, one of the only places you could find this little Indiana Jones teaser trailer of all things. There wasn't really much to this. I got this off of a VHS, original print VHS that I had, the original release. I got it out of, there was some VHS video, swap meet type sale thing, and I got this really beat up Indiana Jones. The sleeve was beat up, the tape was fine, and so it had this teaser, which for the longest time, I couldn't really find it much anywhere else. And all it is a shot of the map and, Indy shot from Temple of Doom, not Temple of Doom, Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was for Temple of Doom. And I just got a kick out of that. So, I figured, I shared it, and I didn't I it did get kind of a ding for a copyright, but not completely. So I appreciated that. I appreciate that quite a bit. So, but the other oldest one we have on here, this video, this is my late grandmother, a time before television. We had a choice in the my one of my communications classes. You could either write a paper or do a video about radio, what it was like before television when radio was big. And my grandmother was kind enough, my late grandmother was kind enough to let me interview her for this little documentary, which, man, I barely any confidence in myself, but I went forward with it. I grabbed some clips off of the TV. This is some old school, early 90s clips here. Uh, you know, and it's funny because this footage I just happened to come across while recording. This radio here, let me pause this quick. This radio, my late uncle, he passed away a couple of years ago due to COVID. Um, this old radio that he had that I used to play with as a kid, to pick up radio stations from like around the world. It was uh, I don't know if it's shortwave radio or long wave. I forgot what it's called, but I mean it was old school tube radio, and I got to use it for this little short documentary I did for my comm class, and it just worked out so well, and it was really cool. And I'm probably boring all of you, and I apologize. Uh, but and there's grandma. And what was really interesting with this interview was that I didn't prompt her or anything. I just had asked her some questions, and she ended up talking about stuff that was actually in our book. She talks about her brothers doing a crystal radio set, and it was in my book. And so, that is what's really cool about doing something like that too, with those interviews, to where I and I that's where I really found a love for it, was the fact that here was something that was not prompted at all, and it ended up just playing out naturally. Which, you know, it's cool the way it works out like that. I didn't have to set things up or anything. I remember recording this though. I did not record it properly at all. I ended up recording it like on a tape recorder or something and transferring it later. Yeah, but that was on VHS, and I uploaded that as well. So 17 years ago. And then this one, Give Me the Prize, was one where that was one where it was suggested by a subscriber. Early days of YouTube, a subscriber loved the Princes of the Universe video, and they suggested, "Hey, why not do one featuring the Sith to give me the prize?" I'm like, Actually, yeah, that worked out well." There's some shots I'd like to go back and re-edit this, uh, just because I just like to re-edit this video because there's some shots that I used that were just they did not look good. And with the despecialized edition and everything else out now, um, I think it'd be cool to maybe revisit it. And then there's the first first final cut. Oh my word. Well, the first one on YouTube. Final Cut spawned from the show that I did back on student television days. I picked up the show from someone who used to do movie reviews for the college TV station, STV, and I picked it up and I ran with it. And then when YouTube came about, I'm like, "Oh, hey, what do you know? YouTube, this YouTube thing. Let's do this YouTube thing." So, oh wow, wow, look at that. Look at them graphics, man. Whew. Look at them graphics, and that guy. Who the hell is that guy? Like 17-year-old, like 30 something Mark. What the hell, man? That wasn't this hat though. That was actually a fabric Batman hat that I had. Um, yes, a review of Snakes on the Plane. Now, what's funny is I was recording this on a Handycam DV tape. And yeah, whoo boy, using Pinnacle Studios, which I still have because the graphics uh package that came with it really worked out well. And fun story with Mutilation Man, and maybe it's fun to me only, but with Mutilation Man, I did this review and I got Mutilation Man on DVD, and I think I still got it somewhere here. Uh, maybe not. Anyway, it's somewhere up here. Oh, there it is. Anyway, so there it is. Um, Mutilation Man, right? And I got this. I did this review, and I didn't think anything of it. So here it is, right there. And I get an email a few years later from the director, the late Andrew Kopp. He unfortunately passed away a while ago. And he said that, "Hey, do you mind if I feature your review on a VHS copy of the movie?" I'm like, "What?" I'm like, I was not kind. I was not kind to it, really. Uh, it wasn't hateful by any means. It wasn't a hate review. I just said I don't get this movie. It was bizarre. It was a what the fuck, film. I totally come out in my review. If any of you feel at all inclined to watch my old review from the first Final Cut, yeah, but he's like, yeah, and I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, go ahead. And so then he sent me the VHS signed. This is limited edition too, out of 100, and it has my review on it. And I'm like, wait, what? What? Wait, what? What? I, and that's when it dawned on me that people were actually watching. Because I'm I was shooting it for myself really just because I like making content. I did not honestly think anybody anybody was watching at all. So the fact that the director of the indie film reached out to me and put my review, which wasn't exactly glowing, on his VHS boggled my mind. But it showed me the power of the fledgling thing that was YouTube. And now it's huge. I mean, it's such a part of culture and got so commercial, everything. But back in the day, yeah, I mean, yeah, it was one of those things where I did not think I would ever talk to him. And that just started a long list of wonderfully talented folks that I have gotten a chance to talk to over the years. And not just people to interview or filmmakers, but uh just in general, subscribers. I've had chats with subscribers. Some of them saying that they wanted to punch my face in, which I get. Okay, yeah, all right, but there were some legitimate conversations. Some that called me out on some mistakes I may have said in my reviews, which is fine. But man, I just starting this out never really comprehended what I was a part of. Um, and to this day, I appreciate just the fact that I can share my passion and things with you, uh, and the fact that I have people who want to subscribe and follow to keep up with things. So yeah, and then Lonely Troopers. You've heard me talk about Lonely Troopers. As you can see, now the first couple of years I was doing this, I got some subs, not a huge amount, but some. A lot of people liked the web series Lonely Trooper, but I was doing that because my kids were really young, and so I was helping raise the kids, focused mostly on the kid. Well, all energy pretty much in my free time on the kids. So there wasn't as much free time to do the reviews the way I wanted to do them. So for that first year, yeah, I didn't do a whole lot. Gained a few subscribers. I was surprised when I went over 100. Um, but yeah, yeah, and so I kept doing that afterwards. I did a episode 3 of the YouTube show, though I don't know whatever happened in episode 2. That's interesting. Probably were just incorrectly numbered. But I showed I do reviews, and then I'd also show a trailer. I've got VHS full of trailers that I got these VHS from a promo. They were in the archive. They were just sitting collecting dust at the student television. So I had those for a number of years. No one was using them. Nothing. They were just promo. They were just promo VHS that people were like, yeah, yeah, take it. I don't care. So Hostel Part 2 review. That one I did just as a one-off. We got Drive. There you go. One of the first, not Drive, Pain. One of the first videos I posted from video games was from Pain. you could upload it directly to YouTube, and that's what I did. But of course, soon after you got a copyright strike against it. So, but as you can see, I did a lot more narrative before movie reviews, and then 14 years ago, so yeah, 2009 or whatever. So after 3 years of having a YouTube channel and only posting like Lonely Troopers, that's when I really started doing uh final cuts regularly, trying to keep up with the Joneses or the Schmoes and the Jans at that point, who were also, some of them were starting out. And yeah, that was tough to do. But I had a lot of fun. And look at that, 48 views. Woohoo! Big views. Oh, there's my boys. My boys were very young at the time, as you can see. Um, but yeah, not a huge amount of views, but oh yeah. And then a twofer when I was doing episodes where I did a split screen with myself. That was tough, but fun to do. So I had a lot of fun with that one. And that's what I've tried to do over the years, is just have fun, and hopefully everyone who's been watching has had fun as well. Though you're probably like, oh, fun talking. Uh, but yeah, and to have done it this long and have some folks who have been subscribed to the channel since the beginning, I very much appreciate that. Now, Red Handed was my college, there it is. This was my college project, my final senior project. And I thought, as a good way to do this stream, is to talk about this one. 97. So third 20, no, Jesus. Yeah, 20, 25 years. 25 years. Oh my god. This is this is the 25th anniversary of Red Handed. How about that? Mm, so Red Handed was my final project for my senior year. I graduated in winter of 97, and I scripted it out. It's 15 minutes short that is part narrative, part music video to Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds' Red Right Hand. And I came up with the script and everything, had to do everything as part of the project. And yeah, I mean, it's rough. I probably should have put it out here, but I did, because, just to show, because there's some things I'm really happy about with how this turned out. Um, and yeah, so I thought I'd bring to you, this only got 82 views. I posted about 10 years ago, 82 views. That's okay. And why not do a little commentary on this video for maybe the few of you out there who would be interested in it? Uh, so that's what we're going to do now, is we're going to do a bit of commentary. I'll give you a little background with Red Handed from 1997, which, yeah, wow. Okay, that's math there, Mark. 26 years. Math is hard for me, especially tonight after a long week. But let's look at this. So, yeah, there's that wonderful countdown that I had here. Um, Now, I didn't get a bad grade on this overall, although I should have used a lighting kit, but that was my greenness of it. Um, it opens here with wonderful graphics. Gotta love those those early 97 graphics, right? And some sound effects and that I put in here. Now, where we shot this was in the Point Hotel, which doesn't exist anymore. It was completely leveled a while ago. It it did not. Yeah, it was. I rented the room for a day, so that was my budget. And the rental, I think, for back then was it like $35? It was a wonderful hotel. It was a wonderful yeah. Probably needed a tetanus shot after that. I think it was like 35, $40. I don't it was fairly inexpensive to rent this one bed hotel room for my short. So that was part of my budget. And this here is a college friend of mine, Brandon Mueller, who was kind enough to be in the film. And yeah, and he's watching the newscast, which again, greenery. I should have planned better. Lots of stuff. I know my mistakes. My professor, Mr. Bill Deering, Professor Bill Deering, was a wonderful professor. Did not mince words, let you know, but also he was fair. Uh, but firm in letting me know what you did right and wrong. But yeah, I wrote the script and everything. And so this here is Josh West Scott, and he's being my news reporter, giving an update for the two brothers because Brandon Mueller plays one of the two brothers who robbed a bank, basically. And there's the other brother, played by a good friend of mine, Dale Newby. And yeah, they just robbed a bank. Don't pay attention to what's actually in the plastic bags. It's not money. But anyway, yeah, so they robbed a bank and then they're trying to get away, but roads have closed, so they come up with another plan. And so that's what this is. Now this is shot all on one camera, and I hope I'm not scaring anyone, but this is all shot with one SVHS camera, in the hotel room, and so we did some creative editing. Um, I wish I would have had a little better sound. I was using all the sound off of the camera itself. And, but yeah, here they are, just talking about the fallout from their heist. Again, on one camera, so we had to do a number of takes from different angles and such. Um, gotta love that shot, right? Right? And then I tried to throw a different line in here because which threw my good friend off, which I probably should have did another take, but they did really well with the material that was given to them, I think. I had that bag for years. This is all my stuff as far as props go. Um, and yeah, so they're changing their clothes because they don't want to get caught by the cops. Get your clothes on. Oh, here we go. Here comes the scene. Oh, here we go. Here we go. One of the two, one of my some of the few half a dozen favorite shots I have in here. Here we go. Yes, folks. They had to they had to run they had to run they had to do that scene 4 times total so that I could get each shot of them pushing pushing him into the wall. And so yeah, they were great sports about it. But 3 we had to do that 3 or 4 times. I don't know if there was anybody in the rooms, next door, but, I apologize to them if there was anybody in the rooms next door. If there were, they probably were doing something more shady than we were, filming a short film. Uh, so yeah, so there was that. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I threw him off because I was trying to be different and say sunny Florida instead of sunny California, but he really wanted to see California and should have did another take. Always do more than one take if you can, folks. But nerves and such. Um, yeah. So yeah, there it is. The point, the Point Motel. we probably we probably should get shots after this. But there it is. Yeah, and that was my sweater too. Oh, here we go. The car magically opens. Oh wait, and the keys. So yes, this is my car as well. This '85 Buick LeSabre was my first car, and we're shooting. All of that in the background's been remodeled over the past years. But there it is, my Buick LeSabre, my first car. I loved that boat. Such a big boat. Um, yeah. I miss that car. That car had a you could probably drive it through a brick wall and probably damage the wall more than the car. Uh but there we go. Our guys driving off in the car. Yep, keep going. Nope, keep going. Keep going. There you go. There you go. Keep going. Okay. Yeah, that's all tore down. This is an apartment complex now that they have here, like college housing in this location. This got all raised a number of years ago. There was just too many shady things going on besides college kids shooting a movie there. So, yeah. Sure. I told the hotel what I was doing on the grounds. Yeah, that's exactly. Totally told them. Uh, no, I didn't. Yeah, the county market and that's all been remodeled. That's now District One Brewing. And ooh, there's the squeak. But there goes the car. Okay, so this shot here are two different roads completely. Again, shooting with one camera, gotta do dialogue. And I probably could have gone down, had him turn around and go down the road again. But if you're from Point, these are two separate roads completely. We shot all of the dialogue for the driver from one angle, and then we shot Brandon's part from another angle, so that we could, I could piece this together. And I tried not to get the middle of the window so you couldn't quite tell that it was two completely different streets. So little movie magic there. Oh, I love this shot. I I have no idea why I love that shot. I really the shot with the car, I don't know why I love this shot so much, but I do. I had to put the camera down on the ground and let the car drive by, but yeah. Again, one of those things, it's just weird. Uh what struck me as things I really enjoyed and things that I, wish I would have done different. So yeah, then we shot this in a graveyard. I actually live now like not too far away from this exact graveyard where we shot this. So that's the narrative part, the brothers talking about, what's been right and what's been wrong and everything. So right now is where the music video part starts. And yes, I got ding with the copyright from YouTube, but not a lot. I just enough to where you can't monetize. So there we go. My shadow's in there. But this is where the music video starts. So here, before we get going, the man in black is my long time, known him since middle school, brother from another mother, my good friend Jim. He was a last minute substitute. The guy that was supposed to play the man in black here, he backed out. He never showed up, and it was we needed to shoot on this day. I had to get the project done, so I was roommates with my buddy Jim, and I woke him up I woke him up and I said, "Dude, I, I need someone to play this character. Don't worry, no speaking parts. You just got to walk scary in the graveyard." And this was like October, November, so you'll see there's some snow on the ground in that. It was cold, but he was a good sport about it. And so this is where the music video parts shows up with the red right hand. There he goes. He did good for last minute substitute. I think he was still sleepy at, at this point. Um, but yeah, he was really good sport about it. And the way I scripted this out is I basically wrote each one of these scenes at the timing of the music, so the time frame, so how long the scene was and what minute these cuts were going to be at. Yeah, there he is. He doesn't, his hair's not nearly that long anymore. And I should have did red hand on his, but um again, just green. So yeah, the graveyard's still there. So there we go. I still have this duster. That's my first duster too. I still have that. Here he goes. Pay no attention to the fishing line. So I got fishing line tied to these bags, and I'm behind him, and I'm pulling the bags, and he's doing the ye old Darth Vader pull with them, and it worked. I mean, in black and white, you can't see the strings attached, right? No strings attached. So so I thought it worked. Although the one bag flipped on its side, but I was like, yeah, you know what? It would have done that anyway. So it's natural. Let's just go with it. So there he is, standing there. All here we go. My plastic guns. I don't know why I went freaky frame on this, but it was within camera. Oh, here we go. Goodbye, bags. Actually, this shot here too, with making this car disappear coming up here. Very proud of this shot. Considering again, one camera in that, I thought that turned out well. Sun glare and everything, it worked well. And then comes kind of the rough part in the video. I should have wrote this a little better, this section, but the song was a little bit longer than I remember the first time I when I first came up with the idea. Yeah, that last twitch just happened to work. So our man is trying to. I used to have that hat too. I don't know what happened to that hat. I liked that hat. I wore that hat quite a bit. Yeah, that some kick on that gun, right? So again, I hope no one's fallen asleep yet. But this shot here, um, I had to do this. It was kind of POV from our killer, and the reason I did that was because, of course, after I get back to the studio and look at the footage, I forgot the car was in shot. Even after I made it disappear, it's in shot. So yeah, pulling the veil back here, 26 years later, yeah, 36 years. Oh, too old. Anyway, um, no, 26. 20, math is hard again. Anyway, yeah, that's why I did the POV shot here with the little iris look. Only because the car was on the far right in the shot. So I learned that day how you need to be very aware of what's in the view finder and what's in shot because yeah, I the car's supposed to be gone and it would have been right there. So I decided, oh hey, look, we'll use the video toaster that was in the studio, and I literally hand moved that little cursor like it was taking his soul, and then throw the gun. So running graveyard. I did find the graveyards are really cool visually to shoot in. Very interesting, visuals with the different tombstones and everything. It just makes, I thought, for me anyway, something visually entertaining. Oh, here he comes! Here he comes! Run! Uh, so he's getting tired. Coming up, another pulling back the veil. I hope anyone finds this at least a little interesting. Okay, so this shot here, and then the next shot here, um, is me shooting up, and they're walking in place. Yeah, they're walking in place there because I needed to get that shot. Uh, so I guess do what you can. I guess. Oh, just random fall, like in any horror film. So I had him running this way, and I'm just like, well, oh crap. Going this way, I again, green didn't plan out, so we got to turn him around. So okay, so we'll turn him around because I having him running the other way. He was supposed to keep running, and then I was like, oh crap, we're running out of graveyard to shoot. Little up angle because it's getting harder for him to shoot, to run, and getting tighter. And then here, this was an unplanned shoot. This was this shot here. I saw this and I'm like, I've got to shoot this. I didn't plan on it. Didn't plan on it, but I got to shoot this. And so I have him running past, and then I'm like, yeah, have him appear, do a nice dissolve. So that's what I did there. Um, so oh, he's gonna make a run for it now. Okay, so remember the Buick LeSabre? Yeah, I'm on the hood. So I'm on the hood of the Buick shooting him running. Both of them. I'm on the hood. Brandon's driving the vehicle. And so that was my truck shot. My truck, my dolly was my car. So and that was red-handed, folks. And then the voiceover, of course, tells you about how everything kind of turned out for the best. And that's my little narrative, my running narrative for my video that I did way back when. Yeah, it was that was a while ago. and this was fun. I remember this. And Twin Moons Productions was initially what it was called, because it was projects that my buddy Jim and I worked on. We called ourselves Twin Moons Productions. We were going to do so much, but young and full of dreams, and then reality kind of sinks in after a while. So I don't know if you found that interesting, but that's the running commentary. That's the story. There you go, little BTS behind Red Handed and what we did to make that project happen. Yeah, it's reliving it now. Yeah, it was cool. And as you could see, so many people were interested in it. Not really, but things have changed so much over years, algorithms and everything for trying to get people to discover your videos. Yeah. Something that I hope to be working on more, as I'm older now, and have a little bit of videos out there. Uh, and it hasn't always been, reviews as of late. I've got other projects in here as too that you could see, but for the most part, yeah, it's been reviews, the final cut, and interviews, which I'm sure many of you already know the story with the Oshkosh Horror Film Fest 2011. That was the first festival I covered, which was, yeah, the Oshkosh Horror Film Fest of 2011. Uh, that was really cool to be a part of that. Uh, that's where I got to meet my good friend, Mr. Derek Carey. Oh, and this was showing the highlights from my interviews that I did. I had no clue what I was doing. I met so many. This 2011 one, you've heard us talk about it. This 2011 Oshkosh Horror Film Fest, so much spawned from this. Got to meet Mr. Corey Udler, who did the Incest Death Squad films, now on Troma Now. I think they're still out there, as well as a number of other wonderful films, Mediatrix, and the girl who I got that around here somewhere. Where is that? Oh yeah. Here we go. The girl who played with the dead. Um, I got to meet Mr. Corey Udler, who made these 5 films. One of them being this, the girl who played with the dead. Can't show that too much on YouTube, or they'll probably block me. But and he did Incest Death Squad and the Mediatrix. I believe it was Mediatrix there when I did the 2011 film. It was Mediatrix, the film fest there, but yeah, that's where I met Mr. Derek Carey, who's become one of my good friends. And he did the editing for Screaming in High Heels, which, if you haven't seen that documentary about Scream Queens, you should definitely check out Screaming in High Heels. Wonderful documentary. He edited it, put that together, got to meet him about that. And then also Swamphead, he did editing. He's an editor by profession. So yeah, he got to work on those. I got to meet him. I interviewed him, and we've become friends. Thanks to him, I got to work on film. I never thought I'd work on a film at all. And when he did Hole in the Wall, he asked me if I wanted to be script supervisor. I'm like, "Yeah, twist my arm, right? To be on a film? Are you kidding me? To go back to young Mark and go, hey, you're gonna work on a film." Uh, yeah. So I am just very appreciative of that. But yeah, covered other Q&As in that. Mr. John Pata, who's got a new film out, you got to check it out. Keep an eye out for it. Black Mold, which is just taking festivals by storm. I posted the trailer on our Facebook. It's a wonderful trailer. Looks high production. Black Mold, John Pata, know the name. Very talented individual. But yeah, Derek Carey, Corey Other, John Pata. I got to meet some wonderful folks who work at the Time Community Theater in Oshkosh, and just so much from there. And my group of friends as well that I do got to meet people, and they got involved in their own projects for there. Mr. Glenn Bittner, the BFD himself from the Spoiler Room, he did a few shorts. And Ray Sidman, who's been on the show, he got to be involved in a number of indie film projects. And even Diva of the Spoiler Room, Dawn, has been in a project or two. One coming out soon, A Time to Die, by Robert Love. You're going to want to keep an eye out for that. He's been working on that for like 2 years. And yeah, and it was after that, it was at 2011 where I realized, I'm just not, I'm not going to keep up, unfortunately, with the other YouTubers who were starting to become big then, the Schmoes and the Jans and the Stuckmans and all of those guys. because yeah, I couldn't get to press screeners. I'm in the middle of Wisconsin, you know, middle of Wisconsin, not going to get to press screeners. But then I went to this one horror fest and discovered a love for indie horror. Got to meet the community, learned there was this huge community of indie horror in Wisconsin. And I was like, hey, well, all right, let's look at this further. Let's talk to these folks. And yeah, the rest is history, as they will say. That really, that is really where I kind of found my groove and really wanted to focus on indie films because there was so much talent out there. And at the time, 12 years ago, not a lot of people were talking about it as much. You had Bloodbath and Beyond, I think, were the real big names that were starting to talk about indie horror more in that, but a lot of people were still focused on the wide release stuff. So yeah, I slowly focused more, got more comfortable with covering indie films, and I'm so glad I did because it's such a rich community, and I've gotten to meet so many talented people who are doing great things. Whether it's Jill Six with The Stylist, which I've got the soundtrack on vinyl, and I've got the Steelbook movie. John Pata, yeah, I just on and on. The list. It is hard to name everybody, all the talented indie folks that I've met over the years doing it. And with that, you know, I slowly started gaining subscribers. It's not why I got into this, but the subscribers helped get kind of eyes in front of some of these projects. And some people, were very critical, going, "What the hell are you talking about, Krachek? Uh, this movie blew," uh, you know, and yeah, and I understand the perspective because if you're not used to independent cinema, the aesthetic may turn you a bit because it's like, well, this isn't high budget, but if you can look maybe past some of the technical limitations of indie cinema, man, there's such great talent and some really cool stories. I saw recently somebody on my Facebook page posted that they had just discovered a Cadaver Christmas, another one that showed at one of the horror fests. And oh man, that one is so much fun. A fun holiday horror film, indie film. It's very funny about a janitor who works at a high school that ends up taking on zombies because a gateway to hell was opened up. And yeah, I mean, it's very well edited, very well directed, some great comedic timing. But it's called a Cadaver Christmas. So that one as well, I would have never discovered had I not gone to the film festivals. And so, as this channel grew a bit in subscribers, more people were noticing it. I also was growing as a reviewer and just someone taking more chances, which is tough because if you're a creative type, I think everybody has just a little hint of imposter syndrome. I had a lot. Confidence, but I decided, why not? Hey, I've interviewed these indie film folks now for a couple of years. Let's try and just reach out for the hell of it through the interwebs. Some people who have done bigger projects. Why not? See if we can get interviews with them, expecting no response. And sure enough, one of the first people I got to interview, Catherine Mary Stewart from Last Starfighter, as well as the Apple and Night Flyers, and such other great projects. Very talented individual who was kind enough, and this was back in the Google Hangout days. So if you if you know what I'm talking about, Google Hangout was rough, very, very rough, but it was free. It was a free service. Hey, so you can't beat with free, especially when you're doing on a no budget like ourselves. We weren't monetized. We're still not monetized, but that's a whole nother story. Uh, but yeah, I had to do it via Google Hangout, and I was very fortunate to not interview her just once, but 3 times. And yeah, I got Patty Mullen, Frankenhooker, Fred Olin Ray is an interview. I'd love to do another interview with him, because I was early in my interviews, not a whole lot of confidence, and I cut off that interview just when I think things were rolling, but I didn't know because I didn't know. But all those interviews, all these wonderful people, both bigger names and independents and Hollywood folks and folks who are just starting out. I've gotten to meet all these fine folks because I've been doing this YouTube channel, and I do this YouTube channel partly because, mainly because the subscribers out there, folks, I get subscribers still discovering our channel, giving me feedback. I love. It's funny with as many videos as we've got out there, seeing people comment on movies I hadn't watched in years. I watched years ago and they just discovered it. And some of them say, yeah, you're wrong. This sucked. But then there's those out there who say, yeah, I had a lot of fun with this movie, you know? And that's cool. And that's means a lot to me that people took the time, one, to watch my review, and two, have discovered this indie film that they may not have watched otherwise. And that's what's important to me is helping spread the word about independent film, good and bad. Because I mean, no, not all of them are great by any means. But on the other hand, there are inklings, there are stuff in each one of these indie films, I think, that shows a bit of hint, a bit of talent, a bit of, whatever that to warrants some attention, or at least putting eyes in front or having someone talk about them. Uh, and so, yeah, that's why I kind of focused on indie films about 12 years ago, and I've had so much fun. I've been having so much fun, and we're going to continue to have fun with this, right? And it gave me some confidence, and it showed me talking to such wonderful independent filmmakers and learning the struggles and the challenges they went through and what they did to make their project happen. Just it motivates me and keeps me going, and has, hey, I could do that. I could possibly do this, uh and yeah, it's just it's why I've really fallen in love with the independent film community, and covering as much as I did. Now, I also met some wonderful folks who do podcasting, and that's what got me into the spoiler room, was being on someone else's podcast for quite some time. And then I'm like, hey, I should try it. And spoiler room now has been going 10 years. Didn't expect that happening. There's a lot of hits on my spoiler room videos, but that's because it's people looking for downloading the actual movie, and not actually, you know, interested in our podcast at all. So the hits and the listens are about 3 seconds long, and that's fine. It's the nature of the internet. But yeah, because of this and because of you folks out there subscribing and watching, keeping me motivated to keep doing this has helped a great deal. Where I mentioned Corey Udler number of years ago, one of his movies showed on the Vortex, which, if you're not familiar with the Vortex, you should be. A lot of public domain horror hosts, folks, very funny, very just and talented folks as well there, doing that. And I got to meet Rich Peterson, at his bordello of horror. He was showing Incest Death Squad 2. Yeah, Incest Death Squad 2 by Corey Udler. He was showing it, and I was talking in the chat during their show because it was pre-recorded, and I ended up talking to Rich Peterson, and he ran the Bordello of Horror, and it didn't just show on Vortex, it ended up eventually showing up on TV. And I was like, okay. And then he asked me one day, hey, do you mind if I play one of your reviews during the Bordello of Horror, one of our segments? And I'm like, yeah, okay. Not realizing or putting together at the time that, wait a minute, he shows on broadcast TV. So there we are, right? What, 11 years ago or whatnot, 10 or 11 years ago. My reviews were showing now this is like midnight on Tuesday, right? On this horror host show, but my reviews were showing on Madison TV, on a Madison TV station. Okay, just um because for me that uh, yeah, and I got to know Rich Peterson and his crew, and Rich I consider a friend quite a bit. We've done a lot. I did helped with him with a couple of the Madison horror film festivals he did. And then later on, Jason Davies took over and did the Madtown Horror Fest for a couple of years, and I got too involved in those. But yeah, Rich was a great guy, very supportive, and it was a lot of very cool person to get to know. And yeah, and he's been, you know, he's done the Bordello of Horror. I mean, it's a long time, right? 10, 11 years. He hasn't quite done it as much, but still, I'm very, very much appreciative for everything Rich and how supportive he was of me. And I was very supportive of the Bordello because he's a great horror host. I loved the character. I loved the idea. Him and his crew, and his crew varied over the years. But I got to do like they did an anniversary show in Baraboo, and I got to do a recording for that, and that was a lot of fun as well. But yeah, thinking back of everything I've done, it gets overwhelming a bit because I don't think like that. I keep looking forward, as some of you may know, um, and this whole journey taking this with you fine folks, my subscribers, has just been amazing so far. And we're not done yet. We're not going anywhere, even if people may want us to go somewhere. And some people have told us where to go. You know, but uh, with the Bordello though showing on Madison, I didn't think anything of it, right? So I'm sitting there and I go into Walmart. Yeah, I know, but I go to Walmart and I'm getting my lunch or whatever at their their hot food counter or whatnot, and all of a sudden one of the greeters comes up to me and he goes, "Are you Mark the movie man?" I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, maybe. And it turns out that the guy, Peter, I believe his name was, he ended up seeing my review during the Bordello of Horror because he got on cable a channel out of Madison that showed the Bordello of Horror. Right? I, something I started years ago, didn't think anybody would give two shits about. And here's this guy randomly in Walmart, yeah, saying I was very humbled. And I hope no one takes this video as bragging. I want to share because I wanted just to share with you these moments that meant so much to me, just like getting to this goal of 25 subs. This meant so much that this guy, happened to see my material, and so I guess that's what I want to tell people is never stop, never think no one is watching because eventually someone might be. Now, whether or not you want people up in Walmart coming up to you and saying, "Hey, I know you," but very nice guy, very great gentleman. Talked to him for a number of years, um, and he was a good guy. I always made sure to try to catch up with him whenever I saw him at Walmart, because I appreciated him. Uh, eh, you know, uh, just mentioning it, I was very appreciative, which I am. Um, but YouTube related, for any subscribers who are out there yet, or anybody at all listening, one of my top videos to this day, and as I said, a lot of the hits. Let's go to that beautiful bean footage. A lot of the hits that we have up on here, um, are people looking for the movies, right? So top videos, there you go. Right. Debbie Does Demons got a lot of hits. Gee, go figure. It's not the title at all. But the one video that I think really means a lot to me, that I it was it was an opportunity that I got thanks again to Rich Peterson and being involved in the Madison Horror Film Festival was getting a chance to interview Robert Zadar. Uh, in fact, I spent the whole weekend talking to him because he was there all weekend during the fest. Uh, yeah, a year after I did Oshkosh Horror Fest, I was involved in this fest, getting to help judge and pick the movies. Which, okay, cool, right? And then getting a chance to talk to Robert, very kind individual, very enthusiastic individual. He had gotten over cancer. He wanted to get right to work. He told some wonderful stories. And yeah, unfortunately, a few years later, he would pass a number of years later. But this is still one of my all-time popular videos, and people still commented on today. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, really? Um, and again, appreciative. And that's why I'm sharing this, folks. I hope it's not coming off as bragging. I'm sharing because I want to let you know, just getting these opportunities and then having people share their comments. And there's been some lovely comments over the years on that interview, that have touched me, touched my heart, you know. Um, and yeah, so they're I'm not sure of how much interest. I probably lose some subscribers now, but that's just the some of the most, not all of the stuff that I've done over the years with this YouTube channel. And just, just when I start to think maybe I should hang it up, I get people commenting on videos, I get people watching videos, I get subscribers, folks sharing their passion with me, which motivates me. Uh, people sharing their passion for indie films, people reaching out to me, uh, and it means so much to me. To this guy who I started this not thinking, man, this is where it's gonna go. Really? This is 17 years, 2,500 subscribers. Hopefully, maybe 2,600 subscribers before the end of the year. Not sure what my goal will be for 2024. I was thinking 3,000. Maybe that's just shooting a little too high in today's YouTube environment. I don't know. But I've got a number of things that I like to do. There's a number of things that I know I'm behind on, um, and a number of things that I might end up changing. I think we need to evolve. I think if you continually get in the same thing, I mean, as long as that's what you enjoy doing, awesome. But for me, I always have to evolve or try things, and that's why we've tried different versions of the Final Cut. That's why we've done a few other projects over time, is because I always want to try something. I have a million and one's ideas floating around in my head up here, as Vert would attest to. And yeah, and I need to get those out. And if I share it and nobody watches, that's fine. You know, I've got videos. I don't think I've got any zero view videos, but I've got a few that are in the single digits, and that's fine. I get it. That's fine. I'm not doing it for massive amount of views. I'm doing it because I have to get these ideas out, and I figure let me share it, and we'll see what happens. You know, I'll be the first person to say, form your own opinion on movies. I know it's like, what you review movies? Nah, I review movies and share you my perspective, but movies are magical in the fact that 100 people can sit, watch a movie, come out of that movie, and have some similar opinions, but also have varying opinions on how it hit. You'll focus on something, something will catch you, something will make you very angry, like furiously angry, furious anger, uh, which I had with the vacation film, which I think the vacation film is the only one that I really did not give a great review on. And I'm almost tempted to to revisit it and give it another shot and give a proper review because I think it's like 5 seconds. It wasn't really appropriate. Not my proudest moment, which I don't have a lot of proud moments, but that was definitely not one of them. And yeah, it was one of those things where it just that film really struck me wrong. And so I didn't figure I'd give it much time to cover it. So I don't know. Uh, we've been babbling here for a while now, and I hope you've found maybe something of interest of this. I wanted to just kind of share these moments, these things that I've done on this channel with you all because of the fact that 2,500 of you have subscribed to my channel and did not expect that. And so with that, I appreciate it and thank you all. And hopefully we can keep growing. Maybe this time next year we will hit 3,000. How cool would that be? Then I got to come up with something else for the show because I have a habit of repeating myself, as you may notice on my reviews. But I don't want to repeat myself too much. And I may have done some of that tonight, to which I apologize. But yeah. So what do you say? Let's see if we can maybe get Fortnite to behave itself and play a little Fortnite if anyone at all is interested. So let's see what we can do here to fire it up, fire it up. uh yeah, let's see what we can do here. Do, do, do. Not- but yeah, I mean, if you folks have any questions or anything, I've just been babbling for like an hour. Be happy to try to answer them for you folks, what I can. If you have anything of interest you may want to either share or curse at me, you're welcome to curse at me quite a bit. Vert here would not blame you at all. uh, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed the commentary I did for the red handed and my sharing with you some of this early stuff here. And again, because of you subs, I appreciate it. Today's world, especially with YouTube, it's harder and harder to get folks to notice you without playing algorithms or playing to viral things. So anybody at all stopping by my channel, even if you don't subscribe, even if it's just the fact of you watch a video and comment, that's awesome. Thank you, because that means a lot to me, that you took time to look at something and feel the need to comment. Not all comments are great. Besides the punch in my face with, I think the other one was it was in some poor grammar, but it was basically something along the lines of they weren't sure what they disliked, what they thought was worse, my review or the film. Now, mind you, they only watched the trailer. So, having only watched the trailer, they made a judgment call on the film, which I don't agree with, and they also made a judgment call on my review, and I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. It's the internet, right? I had a guy comment about how I had a guy comment about how I was wrong about Korea having rockets, and I got my history wrong when that wasn't what I was talking about. What I was talking about was the fact that they were people riding baby dinosaurs and baby dragons in the past shooting rockets. It wasn't the fact they were shooting rockets. It was the fact that they were riding these dragons, supposedly, um, in the past. And so I found that kind of humorous. And yeah, so you know, uh, you get that. It's the internet. It's the thing that when you put yourself out there with your opinion, you have to be ready for the commentary. It's not all going to be positive or constructive, or sometimes intelligible. So, but hey, yeah, it comes with the territory. You've and my skin sometimes was a little thin and took some comments to heart occasionally. But at the same time, I realized that you will get this, right? You're gonna get this feedback, whether you like it or not, and it may not always be great. So let's see what we could do here in case anyone's interested. Should we go see if we could get ourselves shot up? Oh, hey, I watch you, my friend. Nice, nice name. What's my favorite kind of movie? I like genre stuff. I would say horror and science fiction are probably tied for my favorite kind of movie. I really dig both horror and science fiction quite a bit. I like the genre stuff. I like the stuff that fantasy too, stuff that sparks your imagination. I think I've got to be in the right mood for a drama. I don't necessarily voluntarily watch dramas or documentaries all the time. Again, be in the right mood. Not to say I haven't enjoyed them. Far from it. I've enjoyed a lot of dramas, but my go-to is going to be horror and science fiction. Those are things, especially horror science fiction, like Alien and Aliens, right? Stuff like that, Terminator, the old school stuff, and even the newer stuff. I liked the creator quite a bit. Um, I like stuff that sparks your imagination, um, stuff that really just you could tell a lot of creativity was put into it, a lot of time, a lot of thought, just people sharing their imagination, especially when it's way out there. Um, uh, like I really dug Fifth Element to give you an idea, right? Fifth Element is one where that film I dug. I did. Um, you know, I all post-apocalyptic sci-fi, and maybe it's from growing up in the 80s, you know. Growing up in the 80s, we had a lot of science fiction, on the video shelves, you know, and in the theater, but definitely on the video shelves, science fiction was like the genre of the 80s, post-apocalyptic stuff. Um, but so yeah, roundabout way, sci-fi and horror. And horror is fun, and I think horror gets a bad rep, and I'm sure you've heard other people talk about it as well. How horror, um, is kind of the toss-off genre, but there's some good performances in horror. And I don't use the term elevated horror. I will not. I do not use the term elevated horror. Just to me, it's just horror, right? Um, I think elevated horror is just a term used for people who just because it may not be like fully um gore, full on slasher type of story, but it doesn't mean anything at all that it's still it's still horror. Elevated, maybe just fewer jump scares could be what elevated horror means. But yeah, what about you? I watch you, my friend. What about you? What's your favorite kind of movie? I'd love to know that. Love to hear that. What your favorite movie is, because I love seeing what other people really enjoy. Um, whether or not they share love for horror, if they like the drama. I know someone who really likes biopics. They watch a lot of those. Some people who really like watching documentaries. Uh, and documentaries, they're hit or miss with me. You know, depends on what the narrative. Drama, cool, cool. Okay, so what would you say is a favorite drama film? Like a go-to drama film for you? I watch you, my friend. What would you say is that? Because I'd love to know which drama film, because that's one that I would think you got to be in the right mood for, but love to hear that. Um, Titanic could be considered a drama. That's probably one of my favorite dramas. Um, but yeah, and I think uh, partly with drama is maybe because I'll get too emotionally invested, which sounds weird. I know. I mean, that's the point, right? But it's one of those where I there's a lot of drama in real life. So to be attached to these characters and see them go through the drama, especially when you get those awkward ones, you get those dramas, uh, uh, y- you get those dramas, um, that just you're just watching like, oh, you're just destroyed because of what happens to the main character, right? Oh, certainly. I watch you from Madagascar. Oh, Madagascar, welcome from Madagascar. That is so cool. Uh, Madagascar, welcome. And no worries about the delay. It's the internet's, um, but drama heavy kind of vibe. They do. They do. I remember coming out of uh Saving Private Ryan. And that was one that my buddy Jim, who was in the red-handed video, he and we got out of the movie. We didn't say much. We we literally were kind of silent for a little while. And we're like, whew, right? Um, because that film's intense. Uh and very brutal, and probably the as we've learned now over the years, one of the more realistic depictions of World War II, which we hadn't really gotten for World War II films. I mean, you did some, but it was usually Vietnam. Vietnam films were the ones that had the extremeness to them, that real gut punch. And then the World War II films kind of had that, but I don't think portraying the battles was as portrayed as graphically as it was when Saving Private Ryan came out. So that one, yeah, that one really got me. Schindler's List is another one. Uh, that kind of drama movie, you have a melancholic uh, vibe to it. See, like the one with the guy who treat to cut off his ankle, his finger, if his friend talked to him again. Oh, yes. Yes. Oh man, that one. Man. There were people that really enjoy that. The was the Irishman of Innerish, I think it was called. Um that one. Yeah, I'm not sure. That one I was mixed on. Um I was like, I should enjoy this more. I like quirky dramas. I should enjoy this more than I did, but it wasn't bad by any means. But yeah, that one, that one is one that I did not expect that drama to go where it did, um, at all. Great performances that you had in there, uh, and oh, the names escape me at the moment right now, but uh, I like those actors. Quite Colin Farrell and who played his buddy. Oh, I enjoyed his performance quite a bit. Um, yeah, so I like the chemistry and everything between them. It was just I don't know. That something just didn't quite tag me to where I was as floored as some of my friends were. There's some of my critic friends, folks who are critics who are my friends who they enjoyed that a lot more than I did. Uh, you like when a movie's set in atmosphere? Yes, yes. There, I do like atmospheric films. Films that was it The Green Knight? I enjoyed The Green Knight. Uh, I'm not sure if that you consider that a drama, but that really had an interesting environment, an interesting world, atmosphere, and tone to it. Um, you know, uh, and if it can maintain that throughout, I think it really gives you that extra emotional impact. Like you said, the Innerish film, that was one that, yeah, for me, an atmospheric film, it was horror, and I don't care if people call it elevated horror. Was The Vitch? The Vitch, I thought, or Witch, I thought was fantastic in its atmosphere. Um, Maintaining this creepy atmosphere throughout the whole thing, this just uneasiness throughout of it. Yeah, that ended up being one of my favorite more modern horror films. Um, was The Witch, and that had atmosphere to it. Innerish, you're right, has atmosphere. Moonlight had atmosphere to it. Coda had atmosphere. I don't know if you saw the independent drama, Short Term 12. Brie Larson was in that. Oh, and then there was another one too. There was the other one, Room, not Tommy Wiseau's The Room. Screw that. Ugh, yeah. Uh, I got opinions about that film. But Room with Brie Larson, that one, um, that was a dramatic film that really had that unnerving, disturbing atmosphere to it. And some dramas can be almost like horror uh, in what they portray. What was it? Tar, I found interesting. I watch you, my friend. Did you see Tar? That was a drama that um, I appreciated quite a bit. I've got the soundtrack to that on vinyl, actually. Uh, Really good music in Tar, if you like classical music, that is. Great performances, and that's one that has an atmosphere to it. So yeah, I watch the dramas, just not as much. It's not my go-to. If you look at if anybody zooms in on my physical media wall behind me, you'll see that the genre films dominate. But yeah, certain dramas. But Tar is definitely a one that's going to probably be a little bit of a select taste, but I found it fascinating. The character, the individual that it was covering, the subject of it, I thought was really well done. I watch you, my friend. Did you happen to see Killers of the Flower Moon yet? And what did you think of it? Uh, what kind of movie do I hate? Wow. Um, I don't know if I hate any film, and that's not a cop out answer. It's true. I hate's a strong word because I'll watch anything once. Okay, I've always said I will watch anything once, but I think if a film that I dislike probably watching quite a bit are propaganda films that are so in your face that they just turn you off, you know? Watchy. I'll take Watchy. Okay, Watchy. Um, you know, uh those are the ones that and they're not always documentaries either. They're just fictional films that are so in your face and so one-sided and so just films that are smacking you with their message upside the head so hard that it takes away from you trying to pay attention to what's going on. Those are the films that I dislike. I can't say that I'll hate a film. They're individual films that I may really, really dislike slash hate individual films, but a type of film in general, overall, I don't normally hate. It's usually individual films because there's always in any category of film, there's always that film that's going to strike you right, that you're going to find that you really enjoy, that you were surprised you enjoyed. You know, um, uh, uh, I like Jack Nicholson, and he was as good as it gets. I love as good as it gets, right? Musicals. There's some musicals that I fell in love with that I just sh- initially thought okay, but I enjoy musicals in general, but definitely a few of them that really hit me that I was like, wow, you know what? I really enjoyed that. I didn't expect to. Um, and I try to keep an open mind when going into films and watching them, regardless of the genre, because every genre is going to have its ups and downs. There's no, I will argue there is no genre that is perfect. There's going to be films that are going to tick you off in a genre, and then there's films that you just watch over and over again, regardless of the genre. I'm a big proponent of watch films occasionally outside of your comfort zone. And the reason that is because if anything, you get an appreciation for what else is out there, but you never know, you might actually happen upon a film that you really enjoy that you didn't expect. But you wouldn't have known it had you not gotten outside your comfort zone. So if anything, that's what I would advise people to do is like, you don't have to watch everything, but hey, the title sounds interesting, or maybe the description sounds like something that might be up your alley, you know, and you don't have to be like me. Any film that I watch, I will watch all the way through. It took me 3 times, but I got through the remake of Psycho. I still watched it all the way through. Took me 3 times to do it, but I got through the remake of Psycho and I watched it. Um, you know, uh, I think as I've told this story before though, but the only movie that I've never watched all the way through the first time I watched it was not my choice. My mother wanted to go to Platoon, right? And she took me with because it's the 80s. So parents didn't want to spend money on babysitters. So you took your kids to the movies, regardless of what rating it was at. So we went to Platoon and mom walked out halfway through, three quarters of it was when they were in a Vietnamese hut and one of the American soldiers hit one of the villagers over the head with his gun and just kept hitting it. And then didn't even show anything. All he did was describe what he did. He's like, wow, something along the lines of, man, did you see his brain spill out like that? And that was it. By that point in the film, my mom was like, nope. And so she grabbed my hand and pulled us out of the theater. We left the theater before the movie was done. And that's like the only movie I ever never actually watched all the way through. Uh, until later. When I got older, I watched it. Um, Dramatic war picture. I think Hamburger Hill is there were other films outside of Platoon that I thought were better. I enjoy Hamburger Hill is an intense one. That one was tough. Um, but Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal Jacket. The best part of that film, and I say best as in the most emotionally impactful part of that film, was the parts in boot camp. And that's because of Vincent D'Onofrio, who I'll watch in anything. D'Onofrio is a fantastic actor, and he really makes that movie and lifts that film up with his portrayal. And yeah, that's one that you don't just pop in. Hey, you know what? I'm just I'm just gonna I'm just gonna pop in ye old Full Metal Jacket. I mean, some people might. Don't get me wrong. Some people might pop that in and just say, "Hey, all right." But that's a film really you got to be in the right mindset for. But there's horror like that. There's the extreme horror out there that I've watched once and not gone back to, mainly because it was so extreme and so just disturbing. Um so there's horror like that as well. Like the original I Spit on Your Grave, aka Day of the Woman, is not a film that I just pop in and watch. It's a very intense film. I know some people say no, it's not as intense as you might think. No, that film is disturbing, it uncomfortable, and it's supposed to be. That's the whole point. It's supposed to be. And I will only watch that film if I run across someone who says, "Hey, I haven't watched this before." And now I'm not talking about the remake. I'm talking about the original. And I will say, "Okay, I will watch it with you." Because you shouldn't watch this movie alone, right? And I'm not sure. I think there may be some dramas out there as well that you really shouldn't watch alone, because they'll be so emotionally moving that they either make you feel like just dog shit, or you need someone there to discuss what happened after. Because that another reason why I started doing this many years ago was getting to meet folks like you, Watchy, who you can talk movies with and share ideas and perspectives. You know, um, I've gained so much just talking with subscribers in that. You know, you need to watch a movie multiple times to really appreciate it. I watched Fight Club like 25 times. Wow. Wow, I don't think I've watched Fight Club that many times. I've watched it a number of times. I don't think I watched it 25 times. So it took you 25 times to appreciate Fight Club, huh? Okay. Sure. No, I get it. I haven't had to watch a movie that many times all the time, but there are movies that I watched the first time, especially that I watched when I was younger, that I just either didn't get or just like, oh man, that just, and then I go back to it and go, wow, this movie was really great. What was I thinking? And just the opposite as well with films where I thought they were just wonderful. Then I go back to them and go, well, this is highly problematic. Uh, it's like Labyrinth, right? Labyrinth. Ooh, great film. Dance, Magic Dance. David Bowie. You got Jim Henson, puppets all over the place. Wonderful film. Until you realize the age difference between the young woman and David Bowie's character, the Goblin King. And that's when it gets awkward, right? You're just like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, about that. So, but I think that's another thing that some people don't quite get is that you can, tastes change over the years, you know. Sometimes, like you said, Watchy, you have to watch Fight Club many, many times before uh you got everything. Or, you know, there's other films where you're gonna watch and go, wow, I love this film, and put it in, and okay. Especially watching some of those 70s films when there weren't as many regulations involved, and you realize what was going on screen. You're just like, oh, okay, we're turning that off. You know, but I also think I don't think movies that may be problematic today should be canceled completely. I don't believe in censorship. I believe in context. I believe in setting things up, informing, educating, letting people know, look, this is wrong. This dialogue is, offensive. These terms are offensive. But the film is a product of its time. Not saying that it's right, but at least give you an understanding of that film, you know? Uh, and if you enjoyed it and you still enjoy it now, do you fault someone for that? It's that's I've had many talks with people on that. Some people say, nope, you can't watch it anymore, or a specific filmmaker, especially after all the just horrendous stuff we've heard come out of Hollywood over the years. Um, stuff that people really enjoyed, that's ingrained in pop culture, stuff that's just everywhere, and suddenly you learn some of these horrible things, or you get these opinions of the creators of those things that you've loved, and now you're conflicted, you know. But I think appreciation, as well as you know not liking something, can evolve over the years, and it should. It should. To just blindly like something forever and possibly not reevaluate it, I think is a little clumsy, you know. Let's see. I liked Fight Club because, it's very rare to make a good adaptation of a license on a movie platform. See what happened to Dragon Ball. Oh my god. Oh, you had to bring up Dragon Ball Evolution, didn't you? And the Resident Evil. Uh, I don't know why some of those adaptations fail, because it's like you've got the source material, just replicate the source material, right? Oh, hey, Notebook Movies, thank you, Notebook Movies. So glad you could pop in. Watchy here and I have been a wonderful discussion here on genre films and such, and favorite genres of films and such. And if you're hanging around just a little bit, Notebook Movies, what is your favorite genre of film? I'd love to know that much from you, if you stick around a bit. But Watchy, yeah, that's why I will stand by the first, as cheesy as it was, as a bit rough some of the effects are. I will say that the original Mortal Kombat film, live action from the early 90s, is probably one of the most accurate adaptations from like video game to movie that was made for many years. I will say it is one of the most accurate adaptations. Um, just because, I mean, it was a simple concept and they ran with it. Now, granted, they mixed it up a little bit at the end of it. They moved into, Mortal Kombat 2 in that, but it was still Mortal Kombat. I mean, you watch the original Mortal Kombat film, you're like, okay, this is what I wanted. The production design, the costuming, and everything was really well done. You know, hey, Notebook Movies likes action and horror. Action's another one. I'll take my cheesy '80s action films. Action films today I think are still good. Uh, Yes, I loved the 1995 Mortal Kombat film way more than the recent one as well. Uh, well, and the recent one, I'm like sitting here going, some of the just technical aspects of the most recent Mortal Kombat film were head scratchers. I'm like, where the way some things were edited in that, I'm like, Wait, really?" Wait, what? Some of the things it's kind of hard to tell what was going on. Um, and the way that story played out was just it was just like when they came out with the second Mortal Kombat film. That was not good. Granted, they were trying to shove as many Mortal Kombat characters into that film, but there was no story. They couldn't get Christopher Lambert back for Raiden, which I understand the problematic casting with that, but it was Christopher Lambert. I mean, the man with one of the coolest voices at the time, playing Raiden, and I love Lambert. Highlander, one of my all-time favorite sci-fi films. Love that movie. Love the soundtrack. Hence, that's where two of my early music videos came from, where I edited the Star Wars footage, as we talked about at the beginning of this stream. Um, and those both songs that I did the music videos for came from the soundtrack to Highlander, which was actually It's a Kind of Magic released album from Queen. They released It's a Kind of Magic, and the music from there is what made up the soundtrack to Highlander. So yeah. So I thought I loved the Highlander film and Christopher Lambert. He was so much fun, you know, in that movie. And yeah, so to see him when he showed up in Mortal Kombat, I was like, yes. Oh, Fortress, yeah. I remember Fortress with Christopher Lambert. I think we covered that on the spoiler room a number of years ago. We watched Fortress and talked about the Fortress film. That was an interesting movie. Um, um, yeah, Fortress definitely. It's fun. Don't get me wrong, it's fun. Again, 80s action and sci-fi, and in early 90s, I think genre films really found their groove back then. Uh, that didn't involve comic books. Now, don't get me. I have nothing against comic book movies. Love comic book movies. But when it comes to genre films, comic book movies have kind of taken over that genre and pushed other like original stories, not that we've got many original from Hollywood, aside, or they covered that genre. The superhero films cover the action sci-fi genre and have dominated the action sci-fi genre for many years. And so any films that have come out, uh, you know, that any films that have come out in that genre are trying to be original or whatnot kind of fade away if they ever get released at all. So yeah, no, Fortress. I had fun with Fortress though. It's not great, but it's fun. But I would say recent action film and notebook movies. I'd love to know what your recent, say in the last 10 years, what was one of your favorite action movies that wasn't necessarily a based off of a Marvel or DC comic. I mean, it can. That's fine. It can be. Um, but I'd love to know what are your favorites from the last 10 years, modern films. Uh, oh, there we go. See, now you're really talking my language, Notebook. I miss the violent action films of the 80s like RoboCop. Ah, RoboCop. Man. Or how about your Sand and Sandal movies that were launched thanks to Conan the Barbarian, 1982. I've got the soundtrack on vinyl. I've got the original pressing, and then I've got the re-release as well. Great soundtrack. Basil Polduris. Oh, that's my Desert Island soundtrack. But um yeah, those early 80s violent action films that just went so over the top. They even overshadowed sometimes the gore that was in horror films at the time, like RoboCop. The unrated version, I imagine by now, Notebook, you've seen the unrated version of RoboCop, with the extra footage that got it its X rating. Um, the first action film, I think it was, to get the X rating for violence. And you can see why. If you've ever seen the unrated version of RoboCop, it's not that much extra footage, but the footage that was included in there, oh man. Uh, the one that gets me always with that of why it was extra gory was the Ed 209 scene, which goes on far longer in the unrated cut than it does in the theatrical cut. When Criterion was first starting out, that was one of their earlier releases. I have that. I have now. I mean, you can find that version everywhere, but back when Criterion was just starting to come out, that was one of their early, and I've got that, the silver DVD case of RoboCop. That was the first time I had a chance to experience the unrated version, and man, I was just like floored. I'm like, wow, you know, uh, and yeah, and people will say, why do you need to see extra violence or what? I, you know, Here's the thing is when you watch excessively gory horror films or excessively gory action films, you realize it's make believe. At the end of the day, you realize someone took away the makeup, someone just and the person walked away. So I think that's what kind of makes it to where you allow yourself to kind of enjoy it. So yeah, but 80s, oh, RoboCop, yeah. Oh, you liked Upgrade was fun. Upgrade was a lot of fun. That was definitely done in the, kind of the vein, the spirit of those, late those 80s action films, the violent ones. Um, and then John Wick. Well, yeah, of course, John Wick. Who would have thought watching the first John Wick, who would have thought the world that it would be created from it? That's what I loved about John Wick was here was an action franchise that took things to a next level to where it built this entire world of assassins and that almost to the effect of, and I've had this discussion with some folks, uh makes me wonder if the world of John Wick, if what we're watching with the assassins are like demigods, because we rarely see civilians involved. Everyone that shows up, pretty much everyone that shows up in a John Wick film, all the characters are either assassins, people who know assassins, or they know that whole underworld. We barely see anything of a say a civvy who lives in the world of John Wick. They end up being collateral damage. But it always made me wonder: are we watching a demigod world of assassins and killers in that? You know, um, and yeah. So John Wick, absolutely. And, yeah, I admire the effects and the awe of it all. Yeah, I mean, action films, they're still making them, they're still having fun. I think a few of those ultra-violent ones squeak by every so often, and they don't have to necessarily be ultra, like, gory in order to be, still I intense and violent, I have not seen Sisu yet. I want to. I it's on my watch list. It is definitely on my watch list, Sisu, because that just looked like it was a lot of fun. Oh man, that looked like it was so much fun. So yeah, it's up there for my watch list. Watchy says, I think the problem is old movies had good inspiration but not good technology, and recent movies have good technology and not good inspiration, and that's why they make so many reboots nowadays. You know what? Yeah, I think you're onto something there. I think you're really onto something there, Watchy. That most of the Hollywood action films in that they've got the technology, they've got the means, but they're using the rehash. They're falling back on stuff and doing the reboots rather than coming up with something original. Um, and sometimes they do it right. Yeah, Sisu, I've just heard nothing but good things though, Notebook. Notebook says it's amazing. And yeah, I've gotta see that one. I've gotta see that one for sure. Um, but for me, I think one of my favorite action sequels to come out is gonna be Mad Max Fury Road. I've watched that film so many times. So, for a modern, uh, action film, that's a sequel to an IP, Mad Max Fury Road, I'm there. I will watch it every time. I was just like, "Yeah," you know? Um, that one is one of those films where it had the action and they used the technology, and those stunts in there are insane. I mean, while the story sure is simple, uh, Mad Max Fury Road is just it 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 is a visual spectacle, and I love visual spectacles. If a film entertains me visually, I can forgive some of its shortcomings. And maybe that, maybe that's wrong as a film critic, I'm sure. But for me, if I am entertained, because film is a visual medium. And so if you can entertain me visually, I'm halfway there with you. Now, now there are some films that have some wonderful, wonderful visuals, and you're just like, wow, that still kind of was boring. But as far as story goes, but I think for me, I'm definitely a visuals guy, and Mad Max Fury Road just check marked all the boxes. One of those where you're just watching it going, I didn't think I'd see something like that, you know. And there's been a number of movies like that throughout the years, more so lately than I would say 10, 15 years ago that I've watched that I go, wow, that got released. I'm impressed. Stuff that was in my bag, but I knew the general public was not gonna like. you know, uh, yeah. Notebook says Mad Max 4 is dope, and they throw in a horror can win me over if its gore is amazing and the story is terrible. Sure, you know what? I honestly think that is what some of the modern horror films that have gone back to their gore, bringing horror to its extreme gore roots. That's why some of them have become as popular as they have, even if the story isn't always the best. Because the technology there, as Watchy said, the technology is there now to make some really impressive stuff, uh, practical stuff. And yeah, I mean, me personally, I'm looking forward to the Trauma remake the remake of the Trauma film, The Toxic Avenger. I know I have some friends who feel very strongly about it, but that is a trend, and this is why I'm hoping kind of Toxie Avenger the Toxie movie remake takes off, because I'm with Watchy. I think if they want to do remakes, if you want to do remakes, get a film from the 80s, even the 70s or 90s, a B horror film that had a great story, great idea, great concept, but they did not have the budget to put behind it to do the story properly. So they did the story and everything the best they could with some rough technical aspects, you know. But some of that stuff, like the shot on video stuff, man, some of that stuff, you look at that going, what if they had a budget? That could have been amazing, or some of the trauma stuff, the early trauma. You look at that going, wow, man, could you imagine if they had a little more money behind it? Um, Full Moon as well. Full Moon does really good, especially early Full Moon, but even the later stuff. Full Moon does well as stretching a buck and giving you the, making the most out of their limited budgets. Um, if you look at the early stuff like was it Head of the Family and Puppet Master and those are and with Trauma 2, Toxic Avenger, the first one, and some of their other films, which some of them now probably are a bit problematic. But you look at the practical effects and the prosthetics that went into those films. Some of them look really good. Some of them show their budget, obviously, and that's where I would love to see those movies. You know, maybe be remade with a bigger budget, but keep the story. Keep the majority of the story. Um, you know, uh, that I think they could do. You notice they don't. You notice they don't remake many dramas. They've made some dramatic comedies. They've remade them, like Can't Buy Me Love, and some of the other ones, the dramatic comedies, the dramedies that they've done over the years. But you never see too many remakes of dramas, and maybe that's because they just do a similar stories in different settings. But you know, it's usually the genre films that get the remake most of the time, for good or bad. The Crazies, I would say, is probably one of the better horror remakes to have come out. Outside of the ending was a little quirky, but everything else about it, I really dug, you know. And I really enjoyed the Crazies, and not just because I like Timothy Oliphant. Um, but yeah, that one was cool because it took the original film that had a limited budget and expanded the story, but still kept the core ideas and themes going. And that's why I loved the Crazies for my remake. Watchy says most of Hollywood horror is just about jump scares. You're not wrong. Um, uh, you're not wrong on that. There's a lot of different ways you can get scares. Um, and most of the time, not all the time, not all horror, but a good chunk of horror is doing jump scares. There was The Gallows, I think had the most jump scares I watched over the years. Horror films, modern like Hollywood horror. I think The Gallows had the most jump scares for me. And it didn't scare me. I was like so tired of the jump scares. I think I counted like 14. The Gallows got interesting in the last 5 minutes. In the last 5 minutes, the Gallows, they do this really interesting thing, and I'm like, oh hell yeah. Where was this the rest of the film? Right? But found footage is hard sell in general. I I saw Blair Witch in the theaters. And when we came out of it, I saw it with my friends, which was funny because a couple of my friends that went with me, they weren't big horror fans, but we watched it and uh yeah, we came out of it and he was like, "Huh." And I'm like, "Yeah, that was all set up, right?" He's like, "Oh, that was all set up. Well, that could have been so much better." Cuz he was not sure how to take it because he thought he hadn't heard a lot about the Blair Witch stuff. He'd seen the documentary on the History Channel and that and didn't realize at the time that it was all set up. He didn't realize that the Blair Witch was not found footage. So in that case, they were successful in marketing. I mean, if you want a school in marketing, Blair Witch is the way to go. That original Blair Witch, they hyped that film up a lot for what you get. And I know some people who love the original Blair Witch. It's just not me. I've watched it half a dozen times over the years, and I just every time it's not me. And the remake, they did a remake of it, and it wasn't much better. you know? Uh, I mean, see, watch you say, I mean, horror isn't about suddenly scare you, it's atmosphere. No, it is. No, you're totally right. Uh, you need that atmosphere, which is why I mentioned earlier The Witch. I really liked The Witch as a horror film because that had atmosphere, a lot of atmosphere, you know. Early on, we talked about dramas. The Scarlet Letter, the Scarlet Letter movie they did a number of years ago. I believe that was with Winona Ryder. Apologies. I want to make sure I get the 1995. Excuse me. Scarlet Letter, 1995. You had Demi Moore, Gary Oldman, Robert Duvall was in it. That's who it was. Demi Moore was in it. Man, that one that one grew on me over the years. That one had a little bit of creepy horror atmosphere to it. Um, but atmosphere is big with horror. I mean, you need good atmosphere. I think the first uh, the first Insidious film, or not Insidious. Excuse me. Was it? Yeah, no, Insidious. Yeah, the first Insidious film was creepy. I liked that. I liked the atmosphere in the first Insidious film. And even some of the other Insidious films. I really enjoyed the atmosphere to those. I didn't care for the most recent one. Namely because for a horror film, I think it had the lowest body count of 0 in it. There were a couple of dead characters. None of them died on screen, or they were died before the story started up. So outside of that one, I think Insidious had now that's got jump scares too. I won't lie, but I think there's some atmospheric horror for you that isn't just using jump scares to scare you. Um, it Follows, which is getting a sequel finally after like 10, 13 years, whatever it is. That one was a bit that was somewhat atmospheric, you know. So there's some out there. But there are also a lot of big studio ones that are just made with jump scares. They're like, hey, 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 hey. I'm like, yeah. After a while, you get exhausted and tired, and you see it coming, and it kind of ruins it for you, right? So, so yeah, it's the horror genre covers a lot, and modern day. See, the atmospheric stuff is what I think people are trying to equate with like elevated horror. That's no. It's just atmospheric horror. Midsummer. I liked Midsummer quite a bit. It made me recognize Florence Pugh and her talent, and I've enjoyed pretty much every project she's been in ever since. Even Don't Worry, My Darling, even if they did take the easy way out at the end of that film. Um, she was great in Oppenheimer. Yeah, there's a drama. Oppenheimer wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. Oppenheimer. I enjoyed it more than Flowers of the Killer Moon. Not saying a huge amount, but did you see Watchy? Did you see Oppenheimer? I was wondering what your thought on Oppenheimer would have been. But that's a drama that I found interesting. Yeah. Uh I like it for the people. I Nolan Nolan's hit and miss with me, you know. I liked his earlier stuff more so than his later stuff. When you're getting into the history films and you start playing with the timeline in your narrative for your history films, that starts to annoy me a bit if you jump around too much. 1 or 2 jumps, okay, no problem. You do more than that, though, it's like, yeah, alright, now you're sniffing your own farts, dude, right? Um, so, yeah, but what's coming out soon? It's hard to say. With the strike going on, everything's getting pushed out. And with that, what is interesting is you're getting a lot, at least in our area, we're getting a lot of religious movies. Like all these studios that had all these religious movies are suddenly getting released to the theater. Which I've got nothing against religious movies at all, but it's just interesting. It's just to fill these voids because they're not releasing a whole lot because of the strike. Um, they've got theaters are trying to fill screens, and so you get either old movie being shown again, which is cool to see on the big screen. I mean, I saw recently A Nightmare Before Christmas, one of my all-time favorite films, on the big screen, for its 30th anniversary. And that part of that release, I think, why that's still showing, excuse me, is because they need to fill screens. I got to see. Well, I didn't get to see chance to see Beetlejuice. They were showing Beetlejuice on the big screen. Did not get a chance to see that, but I did see the Lost Boys. I got to see the Lost Boys on the big screen. And yeah, it's because they've got to fill screens. Theaters got to fill screens, and they can't because of the strike still going on. So, uh, yay for us, we get older films on screen, but you're also getting a lot of religious films and other films that are still they're on streaming now, and they're still in theaters, right? It's like your average film now is going to streaming 17 days, right? I think it is like 17 or 20 days. Yeah, 17 days. I think on average, your films are going to streaming, your new releases, quicker if they're not doing too well. Untouchables 4, I'm looking at you. Uh that film, wow. There's a franchise that just beat its concept into the ground. And it apparently behind the scenes it got hurt by COVID. I understand that, but still. Yeah, Untouchables 4 was not really great. Oh, I love independent films. I love especially independent horror, you know. If you look at the channel, we covered film festivals for a number of years. Independent dramas and that I'm a little more selective in independent dramas. Though there's one now, Mickey Hardaway. If you're looking for independent dramas to watch, I would recommend Mickey Hardaway. Got a chance to interview the director, got a chance to watch the film. It's really good, impactful, gonna make you think type of indie drama. And so I liked that one quite a bit. What else? What other indie dramas have I seen? Not too many, excuse me. Um, because again, with independent dramas, I just uh I got to be in the right mood. Oh, there's a fun documentary called Ben Coco out. It's light. It's very inspirational. It ends on a lighter note. It's a fun documentary. I think it's on Tubi now, on streaming at least, and that's only like an hour long. But it's called Ben Coco. That's a documentary. But yeah, Mickey Hardaway, I would say that's a good drama. Um, the director Marcellus Cox, he's got another film coming out. He's getting crowdfunding for now. I think it is. And that one I'm excited to see where he goes with that one. Um, and that's what I really like about covering indie films is I like covering indie films because I like seeing where certain filmmakers end up going, from their first project to their next one, and watching them grow, get bigger projects, get bigger budgets, you know, uh, get that chance, that break. Um, that's fun to watch. It really is. That's why I find it hilarious that some of that's why I find that some of the directors who started out in like trauma and doing, low budget horror soon were put in charge of $100 million comic book movies, right? That's great. I'm not faulting it at all. I just think it's wonderful to see them, where they started to where they end up. And not everyone's in a success story, but some like to stay in the indie cinema scene because they want control. Because as you get into a bigger film, bigger studios, more cooks in the kitchen, so to speak, more people determining the direction of your project. A number of indie filmmakers I know just they don't like that. You know, they like the control. They like to decide what their project, where it's going to go, what they're going to do, even if it means less money for them. You know, uh, so yeah, indie films. I'll watch an independent film, I think, sooner than a Hollywood film nowadays. Not that I have anything against the big studio films, but I'll watch an indie film first, namely because they're shorter. uh, you got the Marvels coming up, which is going to be one of the shorter. I think it's going to be one of the shorter comic book films to be released, not just by Marvel or DC or anybody. That's going to come in at like I think the runtime's like 106 minutes or something like that for the Marvels. I'm like, wow, that's that's impressive. You get a movie that's like 90 minutes nowadays. You're just like, oh shit, I got the rest of my day yet. And then you get Flowers of the Killers of the Flower Moon, which basically, uh, is a commitment for like your afternoon, your whole afternoon. Yeah. Do I feel like making an independent film myself one day? I've got a couple on the YouTube channel, but definitely want to make some more shorts. And that's kind of my plan for next year. In 2024, I'm hoping to make one or two or more short films. Now that might mean fewer reviews on the channel, but yeah, it's something I've been itching to do for quite some time. I've got a stack of screenplays, either written or in my head, that could be any one of them could be a film and are doable. I just got to do them. You hit that invisible wall of doubt and questioning yourself, and that imposter syndrome comes out. It just a lot of factors play into it to where it's like, yeah, I just gotta eh, get off my ass and shoot this thing. Right, make your own damn movie. Yeah, but to answer your question, I have a short film which we talked about earlier. I did the commentary on the stream for Red Handed, and then I also did a very short film called Raking It In, which shot like it didn't take long. I just had my camera. I got bored raking and decided to see if I could shoot enough footage to make a little short film, and I did. And I loved it. I've been on the sets for a couple of films, worked on them in the behind the scenes stuff. I've been in front of the camera for a couple of friends who were making films that needed someone. And yeah, I do have an itch to make some films and to make some shorts. It's just getting there mentally, getting going, committing to it because they are commitments, and realizing I may need to give some things up in order to make them happen. And I'm not there yet, but I'm hoping to be there in 2024. And I'm hoping for, maybe 3K in subs by 2024 at this time. Who knows? We might get there. That would be kind of fun. And we'll see what happens. I got a lot of great content coming up. I've got a backlog of reviews and stuff that I need to get done. So look for that stuff. Hopefully November, December, I get it done. Especially November. Some of these reviews got to be done sooner than later, but I got a lot of stuff planned, a lot of stuff I want to do. I can never stay in one lane, which is probably why I may not have as many folks as subscribers as some would expect, but those that I do have, I appreciate every single one of you, and I really appreciate you watching for tuning in tonight and talking films. I'm gonna wrap it up here, I think, tonight. It's getting kind of late, and I'm getting a little foggy. Uh, so, but I thank you very much, Owachi. It's been a wonderful conversation. I thank all my subscribers out there. Thank you for getting us over 2,500 subscribers. And if you have an idea or something you'd like to see on the channel, I am always open to it. Leave a comment on a video. If there's a movie you'd like to see reviewed or covered, or on our podcast as well. I've got so much out there that I dabble in because that's just how my brain works. Patreon, TikTok, YouTube, podcasting. Uh, yeah, I dabble in a lot of shit. Um, and I appreciate if even one person checks out any of what I've created. That means a lot. So yeah, specialmarkproductions.com. You can go there, folks, and check out all the things that I'm working on. Keep up to date with what we've got going on. And thank you. And please tell your friends and have your friends tell their friends and subscribe because the content we got coming on, including short films, Watchy, Lonely Trooper, at some point's going to be coming back. That web series is going to come back, and some short films in 2024. So thank you all. This has been a fun stream. And yeah, take care, stay safe, and we will talk to you later.